Hi, everyone, and welcome to our lead up to International Women's Day. Today, we are going to be interviewing our script supervisor, Jo Robinson. We're really excited to learn more about her. Again, if anybody has any questions, just pop them on the bottom, and I'll try and get to them at the end of the interview. But yeah, I'll add her now. Thank you so much for joining us. I think what everybody would like to know, so yesterday we talked a little bit about the role of a script supervisor, just briefly. And I think firstly, if we can just know a little bit more about the role in your eyes and how you kind of approach the role.
Yeah, so script supervising is what I would consider to be one of the most vital roles on set. Basically, we look after continuity. We, in very literal terms, supervise the script. So anytime an actor does something action-wise, or whether they change dialogue, we make very detailed notes about it. We take very detailed notes about camera setups in case things need to be reshot. They can be done with very good accuracy, and yeah, it's very detailed job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great overview. Like you said, it's a pretty vital role. It's not one I think that when you start off in the film industry, it's not a job that you kind of think about. And then once you get onto a set, it quite quickly becomes apparent that it is vital because your setups, if they don't match up, then it can really affect your whole film.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think so you're in your final year of university now, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And so have you always just focused on script supervising?
No, not always. My original intention was to be an editor. Before that, I was thinking about going into directing, and then I realized that that definitely wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a writer. I still want to be a writer. Script supervising is something I think I happen to be quite good at, though. I tend to have a very good eye for detail. So that's the path I'm currently following.
Amazing. And just picking up on your so you have a bit of an editor's background, and
Yes.
in your words, I think there's quite a strong connection between editing and script supervising. Has that helped you in the role of script supervising, or vice versa?
I mean, I would say yeah. Script supervising used to be known as the on-set editor, so it's a very linked role. And when editing, we tend to give the editors lots of notes that we've taken, so that they can put together the best edit with the best continuity and the best performances, with notes from the directors and things. So it's they're very linked, and I think being an editor as well kind of lets me see how things would come together in an editing room and vice versa. So yeah.
Yeah. So as we can all see now that you're very well rounded in your role. Yeah, that's amazing. So in terms of obviously you've just said you're focusing on script supervising, but you're in your final year of university in film production and screenwriting. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So what are your aspirations long term in the film industry?
Long term in the film industry, I would like to go into screenwriting as a primary focus.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll see my name at the Academy Awards. Who knows?
Love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Is there any just a follow-up question on that? Is there any genres that you're kind of drawn to?
Oh, so many. I love drama and I love horror, especially. I think either of those two, a mix of them, is kind of where I'm heading. Yeah.
That's great. And my next question, so taking all that into account, what kind of drew you to working on The Railway Woman?
Well, I mean, Toby is obviously very talented. We all know this.
Absolutely.
And I think I also love the musical aspect. That's something that I've never really had the opportunity to work with before. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good story as well, which I quite enjoyed.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this story, that's been a lot of our crews kind of draw to it, as well as the musical aspect, because I think the musical aspect not only offers like a new exciting, but it's also like a new challenge that I think a lot of people starting off in the industry haven't always really faced. So I know that we're all quite excited to try that one out. And then moving on. So in terms of being a woman in the industry, what piece of advice would you pass on, or what piece of advice have you been given that you found really useful that you would pass on to females or femmes going into the industry?
I think one of the best piece of advices I received was from one of our lecturers, Marjana, who I think Alice mentioned on
Yeah, I
Friday.
think she did. Yeah.
Yes, Marjana is a wonderful woman. She told me that the best thing that I could do on set was to assert myself and allow everybody to know this is who I am, and to go and introduce myself to people on set to
Amazing.
let them know that this is who I am, this is my job, this is what
Yeah.
and make as many contacts as possible. Because
Mm.
I can't remember who it was that told me, it might have been Marjana, but she
Mm.
said it doesn't matter how much you know or how good at your job you are, nobody will ever know if you don't know the right people.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I mean, that's very true for everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
especially because as far as we've come, it's still a very male dominated industry.
Absolutely. And this is just for anyone watching, because I did a little bit of research just before I started these interviews, just so I could have a couple of facts and figures to kind of back me up before I went on. And out, all moviegoers, out of all moviegoers, 51% of them are women or identifying as women. And out of all the roles in the top 100 biggest budget films in 2019, only 20% of the roles behind camera were women. So,
Yeah.
and in terms of cinematography, there's only 2%. So even though it does sometimes feel like we are coming a long way, there is still quite a long way to go. And I think your piece of advice is really great, because this goes across most industries I've found, but it can sometimes be a bit of a boys' club. And having to assert yourself and introduce yourself, it is sometimes that kind of idea of, if you want to sit at the table, you have to pull up a chair, which is a little bit sad, but it is a good piece of advice going into the industry at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. So continuing on this kind of theme, okay, favorite film, film or favorite female or femme character in terms of woman empowerment.
Okay, stay with me on this one.
Absolutely.
Legally Blonde. Legally Blonde, Elle
We
Woods.
just amazing. I'd love
She's
to hear your
amazing.
reasoning behind it. Yeah.
I mean, she's so kind and she's passionate about what she does. She's hardworking, but she's at the same time still feminine and cheerful,
absolutely.
and she loves pink. And it just kind of, it's about stereotypes, isn't it? She's a very stereotypical sorority girl, but then she ends up being one of the top in her class at law school, which nobody expected. And
Absolutely.
you know, she's amazing.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. And I think out of your answer, the kind of word that kind of struck me was stereotype. And I think it's interesting because Lottie, who we interviewed yesterday, also had that answer of Elle Woods, Legally Blonde. And I think there is something about it, about being able to be feminine and being in your role without having to kind of become not masculine, become harder, but still being able to be feminine and fit into that stereotype and still doing your job, and that you can do that. And I think that is why we as women are kind of drawn to that character a little bit, because it doesn't mean changing everything about you. So I love that answer. That's great. Amazing. Yeah, so those are my questions. However, I do have a couple that were sent in. And also, if anybody watching does want to just put any questions at the bottom, we'll get through as many as we can. Yeah, so I'll start on that now. And if anybody wants to write any questions, I'll try and get to that. Oh, actually, I'm going to go straight to this one. This is from India Smith. Do you ever get frustrated that, oh, okay, this is a good one. So do you ever get frustrated that a script supervising role is seen as a woman's job? Because I have heard that as well, actually.
100%. I mean, it used to be called the script girl in the olden days. I mean, it's not something that's ever really affected me because I am a woman doing a woman's job.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is sometimes very sad to see that it's all women. For instance, I was invited to the Guild of Script Supervising for a quiz night.
Oh, amazing.
It was all women. There were no men in this event whatsoever. So it is kind of I don't know, sad to see that it's such a woman's job, but Yeah,
Yeah, I have a follow-up question on that one because,
mm,
like you said, because you are a woman in the job, do you feel that because it's seen as a woman's job, do you feel that it's seen as not as vital as it is? Because obviously we have just spoken about how vital it is, but do you think you're overlooked? Because it is viewed as a woman's job, and I am interested to hear if you think that those are kind of interlinked.
I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, the amount of times that I've heard somebody say, "Oh, that's not a vital job," or "We'll just do that job," and it's like, no, no. When it comes
Yeah,
to the most important job, there is so much, I don't know, documentation that goes on behind the job. It's
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, and it is a hard role, and it is time consuming. As if anything, it's one of the most time. I feel like every time that I've been on set as well, I think each department kind of has their break. Like they have their times when they can kind of chill out, and honestly, I don't often see a script supervisor have that time to kind of chill out.
it's very rare.
um,
All the
I
ones that
have,
I've worked on, I've always been the one that's staying late. I'm always the last person to leave the building because I'm
yeah,
doing
absolutely.
people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is a very big role. I have a question that has been sent in by Millie Donovan, and
Mm.
Millie would like to know what drew you to the role of script supervisor.
Um, I think this one is also on Marjana. Um, we were doing a class on the basics of it, and at the end of the session when we handed in our scripts that we'd done tramlines on,
Mm.
she said to me, "This is very good. You should pursue this." And she kind of took me under her arm and taught me all the basics. She made sure I was on the right modules.
Amazing.
She taught me everything I knew. She made sure every time there was an opportunity that I was given that role.
Yeah,
And here we
that's
are.
really nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I think that's a great answer, and I think that does show as well. Um, like having that reinforcement. This is true for anyone, just not just girls, but like having that reinforcement. It does genuinely just it helps that even if you have a passion for something, it just kind of gives it more of a spark. I feel like, and it
Yeah.
helps. It just helps you keep that perseverance. And I think having, like you said, like as well, Alice said as well, that Marjana has been really helpful to you and I know many girls who she's been helpful to in my own year because I went there before you guys.
Yeah.
And it is nice to have a female, like a female, like figurehead that you can kind of look up to in the industry. Like we said, it is quite male oriented, but it is nice to be able to have a female that we can look up to and who can kind of push you forward. But yeah, no, I think that's great to hear. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, now is your last chance to kind of put them in. But yeah, I think that's a great place to kind of leave it, unless you had anything else you wanted to add.
Not that I can really think of off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
no, that's perfect.